This franchise is genuinely insane. Hello again, it is I, Triggered. And here I have a game where EDF 4.1 and 5 was combined by Sandlot, the same devs, to make something utterly fantastic, EDF 6. EDF 6 opens up with a tutorial mission, something that was not present in EDF 4.1, but does occur in 5. And here we meet my favorite character, the Chad man in glasses, the Professor, a man who designed all the weapons that the EDF makes use of in EDF 5 and now 6, who currently has a secret to hold within himself, but he won't tell us yet. Well, he'll tell us one thing: he absolutely loves eating cheeseburgers.
No matter how many times I do this, I never get sick of eating cheeseburgers.
Anyway, after the tutorial, we get our first chance encounter with the giant ants, aka Aggressive Species Alpha, inside the ruins of the world, taking place 3 years after the events of EDF 5. These giant bugs spray acid at close range and attempt to deal damage using it, which is easily capable of melting you down if there's enough of them. And of course we encounter the red variant of the species, Alpha, which are physically larger and more durable. However, they don't use acid. Rather, they charge forth and attempt to bite down upon you. Them biting you will put you in a state of ragdoll, holding you in place. But don't worry, all you gotta do is shoot back at them and you'll be released from their grasp. And in a later operation, we encounter the mother of all monsters, known as the Mother Monster! This is the massive queen of all the ants that we have encountered, and it coats the battlefield in a spray of acid. She is an incredible threat to be facing, but we are the EDF, and killing her is no problem. Also, it's responsible for laying these massive eggs that you may see around the map, depending on the mission. And just like in EDF 4.1, they actually use the same weapon and loot tables as before, just with a much wider variety. However, some things have changed to make things a little bit more easier for you. Now when you collect items like armor and weapon crates, it's now spread evenly between all the 4 classes, with a clear bias towards the one you're currently playing or have selected in mission. Meaning you don't have to spend hundreds of hours just grinding for one specific class. Now you can just pick one and have fun. And keeping in EDF tradition, the weapon library is catastrophically massive in scale. In total, there's roughly 1,358 items without any DLC, and 1,544 with DLC included. However, if you get duplicates of a weapon, it actually overall improves the weapon's star statistic, which is essentially a minor buff or addition to the weapon that improves it over time. These small improvements can make an originally underpowered weapon into one of the strongest weapons in the game relative to mission difficulty. And in total, there's roughly well over 147 missions with without any DLC, and with, I believe it's around 155. Whew, that was a lot. And, hey, look up! There's flyers! They're covering the sky! The flyers are basically a giant form of hornet that comes in and swarms the skies, constantly firing its stingers at you in a shotgun blast in an attempt to kill you. These guys are pretty much identical to the counterparts in EDF 4.1. Additionally, sometimes these guys spawn in missions with alongside a nest that you have to take out. Shooting it will easily take it out, though. Now then, that's pretty much all the enemies you gotta worry about on the surface. So there's nothing else we gotta worry about. Completely nothing else. What the? Look at the sky! That massive primer ship appears to be a form of a giant ring. We have no idea what it is or how it works, but we know one thing. There's clearly an obvious weak point. The giant red spot directly under the ring. All we gotta do is fight off a horde of aliens and fight our way under it to destroy it without any trouble.
Hey, what's going on? The sky is...
Alright, today is the standard extermination. All we have to deal with now is androids. These guys come in swarms and are much tankier than the regular ants. They attack by firing their hands out toward targets before retracting these. However, these flying claws can be shot back if timed correctly. Hey! Looks like you got the hang of it, rookie. Nice work. Hope you're ready to deal with the giant android. It attacks much differently from the standard, brethren. Instead of using its claws, it makes use of twin cannons directly mounted to the creature's head, which it uses to fire a barrage of lasers at long range and even close range combat. However, from time to time when it wants to kill you, it'll fire at a pulse laser that is explosive and can knock you around if you're not careful. Huh. Seems like you already know what you're doing. Great. That means I don't have to explain much else. Now then, let's move on to the next step of the plan. You see that giant ring? We're gonna attack it. All we need to do is show that the primers that humanity will not go down without a fight. It's time to take on those Type 3 drones guarding the ring. They're essentially a fidget spinner-like robot. They spin around, approaching their target at range, before eventually locking on, flipping their body, and firing out 4 lasers focused in a single point to vaporize you. However, that center point in the body is actually their eye, and by shooting at it, you can take them down fairly quickly. Now's our chance! We need to fight our way directly under the ring and take out the giant red cross that we spotted earlier. Destroy the ring! Ah! What's going on? The light! The ring's crashing! Get out of the way! Look out! The Earth Defense Force 6 begins now.
It suits you, comrade.
Now we are back in the events of EDF 5, and now we fight through 2 key points throughout its history. During the war 3 years ago, we arrived back just when the teleporter ships have still proven to be a massive problem for the EDF, which has been the case for the last 6 months. But here, we can make a difference by discovering their catastrophic weak point. You see, these ships are covered in golden armor, but you see that red spot right there? That's actually their weak point. Whenever they drop enemies, they open up, revealing it. All we gotta do is shoot it down. And the reason why we're able to do this is because we are a highly trained ranger. Just like in EDF 4.1, it comes with the usual assault rifles, missile launchers, rocket launchers, shotguns, and sniper rifles. But he also has access to a vehicle slot in new 2 support slots that can either improve his overall armor capabilities, allow him to throw a grenade without having cover up an entire weapon slot, and call down my personal favorite vehicle in the entire game, the bike, baby. Get from point A to point B in a flash. And actually, that reminds me, there's a new enemy that come around the block, called the Grenadier. These guys' bodies are shaped like bullets and carry 2 massive bombs as their hands, and attempt to rush you down by running towards you before dive bombing and blowing themselves up to kill you. Thankfully, however, their same weapon is actually their weak point, as shooting the bombs on their hands can easily destroy them, creating quite the fireworks show if I do say so myself. Alongside the regular Grenadier brethren, there's also the Giant Grenadier. However, they have the exact same weak point as the smaller ones. They're just a bit more tankier and pack a bigger boom. However, these Grenadiers were used to bomb multiple EDF bases, destroying them entirely. Alongside this, there are multiple primer ships, known as motherships, surrounding the world and deploying massive swarms of drones. These are called the Type 1 drones. They're a saucer-like enemy that flies around the map and won't be aggroed unless you shoot them. Mind you, however, they also have proximity activation, which in a nutshell basically means if there's enough of them grouped up on one, you shoot one, they all aggro. Thankfully, however, they go down fairly quickly. And look in front! Oh my god! It just looks like a human! It Its resemblance is uncanny! These guys are the colonists. Tall bipedal amphibians that attempt to rush you down and fire upon you at range. These guys are much tankier than the ants, but their limbs can easily be cut apart fairly quickly if you use the right equipment, like cannons or blades. However, they also take cover from time to time. I suggest you do the same, lest you be beaten down with the sheer volley of fire they produce. However, the primers aren't done quite yet. There's another kid on the block, known as the Cosmonauts. These are the primers' frontline infantry force. These are their real soldiers. Covered in body armor from head to toe, they are nigh invincible to attacks unless you break through their armor, after which will reveal a squishy, weak, gray body underneath. After which it leaves them vulnerable. What I recommend doing is taking out their hand that holds the gun, primarily the right one. Break through the armor, cut the arm off, and they're completely vulnerable. And just like the frogs, these guys move tactically around the map, dodging and rolling and taking cover. Huh, looks like you're just dealing with frogs here. That shouldn't be too bad at— Hey, what the— Are they calling for something? What in the world? Who are they summoning? What the— Look at the sky! These are the flying tadpoles. These are the giant tadpoles, the baby versions of the frogs we encountered already. These guys love to breathe fire all over the battlefield, covering you in their flames, and attempt to chew and bite down upon you once they make landfall. What the— I'm getting communications. Seems like the professor's attempting to convince EDF Command that he's from the future by giving them information. And they send him to the hospital. Darn. Damn it. I was hoping that would work. The professor and I have been trying to convince them for months, but they don't seem to get the hint. Alright, looks like the coast is clear. Huh, I thought enemies were reported here. Specifically, predatory invasive species, Alpha. Look at the building! Ah, here they come! These giant mutated ants eat buildings like me at a buffet. All you can eat, baby. Dear God. They're incredibly fast and come in massive swarms. But fear not, they're fairly weak on their own. Too bad they always come back in swarms. Make sure you use some explosive or high fire rate weapon to clear out massive swarms of these guys. And what's even worse, during a final operation where we fended off every primer across the entire planet, it wasn't enough, and the entire world returns to ruin once again. And just like before, the ring arrives and changes history once again. But hold on, it looked like the primers won that time. What could they possibly want to change this time? Well, I'll tell you. They decided to introduce a new enemy on the battlefield. Another member of the primer species, known as— just thinking about it scares me. The Ghoul. Tall, squid-like aliens, composed of multiple tentacles that they use to protect themselves against all attacks. Minus explosives, of course. Because you see, these guys come equipped with an energy shield capable of blocking any and all attacks at range once they're aware of where the attacks are coming from. These guys have been deployed to defend the ring once again. However, like the Giga Chads we are, we push on, eventually destroying it once again. The Earth's Defense Force 7 begins now! Now we arrive just back when the teleporter ships have arrived, but now instead of ants, they're deploying giant insects known as Insect Gamma. These guys are giant roly-poly bugs. They attack primarily by just rolling into you, crushing you under their weight and knocking you around like it's nothing. But here, that's not the main problem. The main problem is currently the Cruel, and the evolved ships keep dropping new enemies left, right, and center. Hey, that one's dropping new ones now! Huh, looks like it's deploying those high-mobility androids I've heard so much about. These guys swing around buildings, making use their arms like grappling hooks, and just like their standard android brethren, they fire back at you. Shooting them mid-swing can send them flying into the air. But don't worry, these new enemies ain't got nothing on us. Why? Because we are a highly trained air raider. Air raiders primarily specialize in long-range airstrike combat, making use artillery strikes and bombing runs from their call-ins. They can also make use of my personal favorite, orbital laser cannons, and the mentally ill Spraitfell operator. Just take a listen.
You have good taste, air raider.
God, I love her. But his main strength, in truth, is his wide access to multiple vehicles, like tanks, bigger tanks, and my personal favorite, the powered exoskeletons. Bipedal robots loaded up with guns, baby. We got enough firepower for everything. It's a good thing, too, because a new enemy has been spotted falling from the sky like meteors. It's called the Doroys. These guys come down, falling from the sky like meteors, and walk across the battlefield, making use of 3 legs. These three legs are absolutely loaded to the brim with laser cannons and missile launchers, all designed to rain down hell upon you, along with the primary plasma cannon that they use to shoot upon you. And at close range, they attempt to impale you making use of their legs? How dastardly of the primers to make something so horrific. Good thing we can take these guys down no problem. Huh? Oh, looks like the primers have deployed a new type of drone, simply known as the Type 2 drone. These guys are pretty much identical to the Type 1 parts, outside of just being larger and a lot more tankier. There's not really much difference between these two outside of their size and shape. But you see, that's not what the primers have in this timeline. No. They're making use of something big. Something catastrophically big! It's called the Giant Cyclops. A massive android with this giant single eye. Its round body is heavily armored, meaning it only has one weakness: its eye! Aim directly center of it and be able to deal some real damage to it. But look out for its main 4 cannons that attempts to blast the entire battlefield with, located at equidistant points all over its body in the front side. And look out for its ground smashes when it gets close enough. This thing means business. But you see, the primers have something even larger than this, because they know humanity is a real threat when they see one. I present to you the Giant Mobile Base. A massive world crawler, capable of leveling entire cities all on its own. And sadly, we don't have any nuclear bombs to take that massive thing out. So, there's only one solution we could do to stop that thing. Gentlemen, it's time to send in the infantry to wipe out the enemy base once and for all and give humanity a fighting chance against the primers. How? Simple. Just get directly under it. It has the same exact weakness as the teleporter ships. Ha! What an obvious design flaw! And just like that, we wipe out the massive mobile base. But even that is still not enough for humanity. And just like before the ring arrives, it seems like we need a more permanent solution for this thing. If this thing keeps coming back, the timeline will keep being reset, and humanity will never have a chance of truly succeeding against these guys. What to do? Oh well, I'm sure I'll figure it out in due time. Well, not really, as we don't have no time now, because a new enemy has arrived, and it looks like the primers have developed a machine specifically to go underground. It's called the Excavator, a disc-like enemy, completely flat, able to worm its way underground. It primarily attacks by shooting flames directly from its mouth. However, shooting at it directly will be ineffective unless it is currently in its firing position, as its armor plating makes it nearly invulnerable to most attacks. But no matter, it's time to push through and get to the surface. There's mist covering the land? I think I may have spotted what's generating the mist! Dear God, it's a Scylla! These massive humanoid aquatic creatures rush towards you, belly flopping across the ground and sliding around like penguins on ice. Once they're within range, they attempt to spray massive swaths of stomach acid upon you, rolling around in an attempt to crush you. And when they're really close to you, they produce a massive fart cloud of poison gas that will easily melt you and any other compatriots around you very quickly. Stay away from these guys and take them out at long range. But by now, I think you know the drill. It's time to destroy the ring once and for all. What the? The ring has produced cannons? It seems like the primers are onto us. If we fail here, we might not be able to go back in time. Quickly, get under the ring and destroy it! The Earth Defense Force 8 begins now. Now we return to just only a couple weeks after the initial invasion, right when we're still considered a civilian by the EDF command. Here we fight alongside the EDF, making use of multiple weapons and fighting off swarms of enemies, even defending from a mothership from one time. But it's here we encounter a new bug that appears to be attacking us now. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Giant Spider, or as Command would have me call it, Insect Beta. These guys come in swarms and jump towards you as fast as they can, spraying multiple swaths of silk. Gross, get this off me. Alongside this, a much larger variant was spotted, known as the Aranea. It creates these massive spider webs and attempts to reel people in using its webs. It's a good thing it can't hit me, sucker. But you see, all of these are merely peasants and knights of the true king, simply known as the King, a giant version of the standard insect beta we already encountered. They're much more tankier and significantly more powerful, but are the same weak little insect they truly are deep down. However, if it wasn't already obvious to you, the Scylla have arrived and now become a massive threat for the EDF's navy, who, in the past timelines, were completely safe from primer attacks in the ocean. But now they're dropping these Scylla's all over the world in order to stop the Navy and limiting our combat functionality. If there's only way we can stop whatever's creating them. Maybe if we... What the... Oh my god! It's huge! That, my friend, is simply known as the Siren. A massive dragon-like enemy that flies around the battlefield, coating it in utter flames. Fighting it is like fighting a hurricane, and sadly we lack the main firepower to take it down. Or initially as we thought. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Wing Diver, the high-flying class of the EDF's armed forces. She is the purely high-mobility class covered in little to no armor, if you couldn't tell. She makes use of excellent weaponry, such as plasma cannons, lightning guns, laser guns, and my personal favorite, the rapier. Ooh, that thing shreds like it's no tomorrow. I love her. And of course, how can I forget her ability to fly and additional support equipment, like lightsabers and spears, and even a brand new generator to improve her strength. Awesome! Except for the fact that all of her weaponry is powered by the same power source, which can overheat, which will leave you vulnerable if you're not careful. However, back into the task at hand. The Siren is currently in combat with us, but we managed to damage it. But it has run away. Dang it! As when injured, it flies away to heal. So, in a multi-campaign to attempt to hunt down this massive beast, we eventually weaken it up and blast it with a massive orbital laser cannon. Take that, you giant chicken! And hey, what the? It's not dead? We didn't hurt it. No, we did the complete opposite of hurting it. We empowered it. Oh man, what do we do? Wait, I have a plan. One that can take down this massive chicken. But before that, I need to tell you its new name. It's called the Glaukos. We need to save one of our own ships, the submarine carrier, by destroying Mothership Number 8 by taking out its main cannon, leaving it nothing but rubble in the air. Once we do, we can use its cheering charges to take down the Glaukos once and for all and give humanity a chance it needs. It's time to die, you massive chicken. Godspeed to the EDF, baby. Woo! It's down! It's down! 3 years later, we arrive back in the underground base, and upon leaving it, we discover that humanity has succeeded against the primers. We now arrive to a utopian city filled to the brim with the greatest of humanity could come up, and even stronger weapons but from before. However, just like before, the Ring arrives and changes history. The Ring is becoming such a massive threat against us. If we don't find a way to completely stop this thing, there's nothing we can do. Nothing. I think you know the drill, soldier. We arrive back to the surface, and here we spot our new enemy, simply known as the Kraken. This massive squid-like alien is eerily similar to the crew we encountered before. The only difference now is that these guys are much larger, carry significantly more powerful cannons and shields, and even fly around? How is that even possible? Additionally, alongside them appears to be their children, simply known as the Haze, as when killed they produce a haze-like mist. These two monsters work hand in hand, attempting to take you out. However, because the Kraken actually used the similar shield technology as the crew, it has the same exact weakness. All you gotta do is overload it, and then cut off the arm wielding it, cutting down their defenses and leaving them vulnerable to attacks. The Earth Defense Force 9 begins now. Now we arrive to the beginning of EDF-5 itself, right inside the EDF command base. But here, it's time to make a real change in history. You see, every time the timeline reset, we've been following a set of rules, but now it's time to break those rules. If the primers are not gonna play fair, then neither shall we. Gentlemen, it's time to retake the space long before it ever gets captured. But how? In the past, they deployed massive anchors in order to take control of it. What can we use to stop them? Simple. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the giant unloader barga, baby! A massive mobile crane, originally made for construction. Now we use it here to destroy massive primer anchors. We swat after them, one after the other, each of them fall, until eventually we successfully take back the base, ensuring that the EDF has a strong foothold in the war against the primers. After this mission, we immediately deploy to go against one of the massive enemies that the primers have been using to wipe out cities. It's called Erginus, a massive bipedal lizard-like creature capable of spewing hot plasma and running down entire cities all on its own. But it is no match for humanity's ingenuity. Alongside this, we finally decided to take down the enemy command jet ourselves. In the past, we nuked it on the dark side of the moon, but here, we're gonna take it down using nothing more but infantry and of course the hooligan cannon. Alright gentlemen, you know the drill, simply take out the main cannon. What in the world? My god, it just transformed into massive plasma and laser cannons all over the battlefield. What do? I need a heavy fire support team. No, I need a specialist. I need a fencer. The fencer is the heavy support class of the EDF armed forces. He comes equipped with multitudes of weapons, like cannons, missiles, and rocket launchers galore. But this man truly specializes in melee combat. Swords, spears, hammers, he's got it all, man. And one of the most important tools that will help us right now is his cannons and his ability to dash across the battlefield like an armored core. Regardless, we're gonna use the fencer to take out the enemy mothership. First, all we gotta do is shoot down its cannons and eventually leave it vulnerable to attack. With one final shot, we can end it right here and now. In the name of the EDF! Woo! Mothership 11 is down! It is down! Woo! However, in a desperate attempt to stop us right here and now, the primers deploy their last final option. A massive army of... oh my god! It's kaiju! This is the primer's trump card, eh? Well, it's time to deploy one of our own. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Armament Barga! A heavily upgraded version of the standard Barga comes equipped with twin copper cannons that I'll simply let it speak for itself. This is the perfect timeline for us, except for the fact the ring still exists. So, what can we do? If the ring continues to exist, it'll just change history again. Well, I'll tell you what we do. We go back in time and destroy the evolved ships at key points in history. Doing so will eventually grant us access to finally taking down the massive primer ring and taking out its defenses and destroying its centerpiece, the spinel. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for watching this video. I am so glad I finally got around to... What? How can this be? We took out the primer's teleporter ring. They shouldn't be able to go back in time. Unless... of course! The ring is only a mode of transportation. It doesn't actually change the future because nothing in the past has been set in motion fully. Going back to the task at hand, taking out its massive frontal cannon that's using to try to wipe out us directly off the city face. It reveals what it truly is deep down. It's... God! No. Not my god, not your god or anybody else's. It's the Primer God. I have one last final option that we can use to stop it. We need to nuke Mars. That will ensure that the Primers can no longer be able to go back in time by ensuring they never existed in the first place. Take that!
This is highly abnormal.
Okay, it didn't work. Oh god, it got even stronger. There's only one option now. If we were to die here, humanity will fail, and we will be erased from history. It is now a duel against time and space. It's time to show what the EDF is truly made for!
Hey, we did it! The enemy ship is crashing.
We did it! It's finally over.
I give this game, with wholeheartedly, a solid 10 out of 10 Freedom Stars. I'm changing them to stars once again. Go play this game. It is like $60 on Steam. Just wait for the sale. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this long-ass truck video, like and subscribe, share with a friend, and remember lads, stay free.